Jim Rohn, I believe, was the guy who coined the phrase that you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. And it's pretty darn accurate. Like people hang around like people, right? Like musicians hang around other musicians.
Right.
Athletes hang around other athletes. Computer nerds hang around other computer nerds. Like we hang around people and who we want to be like. So that is so powerful. You want to get around people, and ideally people who are going to pull you up to the higher level versus hanging around people who are kind of like the crabs in the bucket who are going to pull you down.
Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast with Lee Hayward and Jeff Samataro. Since 1997, Lee Hayward's Total Fitness Bodybuilding has been online helping guys to build muscle, lose fat, and become the best version of themselves. The goal of this podcast is to provide you with real-world practical fitness and nutrition advice to look your best, improve your health, and feel confident in your own skin, so you can live life to the fullest without having your body holding you back from doing the things you want to do. So if you're ready to get started, let's jump into the show.
Yeah. Give me a drum roll, Jeff.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Newfoundland, Canada, the man, the myth, the legend, Lee Hayward. Crowd goes crazy.
Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. It is I, the man, the myth, the legend, all the way from the Rock, Newfoundland, Canada, Lee Hayward, joined with Jeff Samataro. That's what they call this place. It is the Rock, and if you ever come here, you will see there's lots and lots of rock.
Nice. Welcome to the Rock.
The Rock. Anyway, glad to chat with you again, Jeff. How are things out in sunny California these days?
Things are going great. Yeah. So far, so good. Really enjoying getting outside and exploring and finding some great places to hike and bike and outdoor calisthenics parks. And going out, enjoying the music, enjoying the food. The food out here is incredible, Lee. It's going to be tough. Let me tell you, trying to stay on track with the diet and nutrition when there is so much amazing food so readily available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But
gotcha.
Trying to make it work, and good enough, but good enough consistently, right?
Yeah, we can certainly discuss some strategies for that because that is a real world challenge for a lot of people. And I know I have some of my alternative strategies that I like to use when I am traveling, and I know there is going to be some good food available, and you want to how do you still enjoy this and make it work, right? So we can certainly dive into some strategies along that. But one thing I want to address, I've been following along with some of your posts, and I mean, seen some beautiful hikes. Of course, California, you got a lot of mountainous areas when you get away from the coast, right? So there's a lot of great hiking there. And I know another one of our guys who has been a long-term member of the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program, Derek, he lives out that way in Los Angeles. And that's his thing every weekend, goes off on a different hike, right? He's got several routes planned, around the Los Angeles surrounding areas that he heads off to. So like every Saturday is usually hike day, right? So several hours hiking the hills there. So you posted some cool pictures of that. And you also shared one of a big bike path or a big bike trail. You said it was like 30 miles or something, was it?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So I did a little Google search and found this bike trail. It's called the San Gabriel River Trail. And It starts up in Duarte, California, which is like the northern point of LA. And it goes all the way. It's a 30-mile path that goes all the way there from down to Seal Beach, which is right next to Long Beach. So it literally goes through the entire city, north to south. That'll be really cool. So I'm excited. My wife, we just went out and we bought her a road bike on Facebook Marketplace. So
Nice.
Her and I are going to put some air in those tires and take it out. And I'm already ambitious about it. I'm thinking about going all the way down and then all the way back up. I'm like, we got to do the whole 60 miles. And she's like, how about we start with like 5 or 10, something like that. Yeah.
He's the voice of reason here.
He is the voice of reason. But you do all these like crazy long endurance bike rides all the time, and you make it look
but
easy.
It didn't start like that. I remember the first time I ever rode 30 miles, And like at the time, that was like a monumental achievement. But I was destroyed afterwards. Like
Yeah.
that was painful and sore and exhausting because like a lot of people they go for a ride and maybe an hour or less and say, oh, this is no big deal, right? I can do this. But then once you start accumulating miles and accumulating time in the saddle, so like that first hour is, oh, this is easy. What about the second hour and the third hour and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth? And if it continues on, it's like dropping off a cliff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Right.
I could see
Change.
that for
Yeah.
sure.
The enthusiasm, and then all these other things that you never even considered. Like now all of a sudden you need to have proper bike shorts because your ass is getting numb sitting on the seat. You need to have the proper bike fit because now my arms and my neck and my back hurt from being in this position for so long. And like you
Yeah.
don't notice that on a short little ride, like an hour or less. But once the
Mhm.
hours accumulate, yeah, you're gonna notice that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. I got the bike shorts. I've already experienced that. So so I got the bike shorts already, but I'm excited for it. I want to get a road bike myself. I have a mountain bike right now, but I think a road bike would be a little bit more suitable for this kind of thing.
I've got both. I've got three main bikes that I use. I have my fat bike, which is like the like a monster truck. It can go over anything.
Mhm. Yeah, I've
And
seen
then I
that.
got the gravel bike, which is kind of like a knobbly tire road bike, if you will, and then the actual road bike with the slick tires. And there's a time and a place for all of them, and I love them
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for the one be all bike, I would probably get a gravel bike and then get two sets of wheels. Have a set of slick road tires and then a set of knobbly off-road tires. So then you just switch the tires if you want to go on a dirt trail.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But that's what a lot of guys do. If they're looking for the one size fits all bike, get a gravel bike with two sets of wheels.
Is a gravel bike the same thing as like a mountain bike, or is that different?
And it's kind of like in between a mountain bike and a road bike. It's basically a drop bar old school mountain bike, for lack of a better word. Like what I mean by old school is like there's usually no suspension. It's a stiff frame. Like whereas new mountain bikes, full suspension and yada yada. But it's
Right.
basically
Mhm.
like an old school mountain bike with the drop handlebars. Right.
Okay, cool.
The tires are thicker than road tires, but they're not mountain bike tires.
Mhm.
So you can handle like gravel roads, perfect. Or easy light trails and stuff like that is ideal. But if it's rough and rocky and roots and you know that kind of stuff, you need a proper mountain bike for that.
Yeah, yeah. What's a good brand of bike? What brand do you recommend?
There's so many now. I mean, the one that I have now is Trek, but there's a
Okay.
lot.
Mhm.
Giant is a Trek and Giant are like two of the big ones, especially in North America. Right? There's so many. Like my gravel bike is Rocky Mountain. That's a Canadian company that makes some good ones. Sure, there's some local ones like Specialized, I believe, is out in California. I think they're based there. That's another really popular one. Bottom line, just go to the bike shop and see what they have available.
Yeah.
I don't have a brand preference. I mean, as long as the bike fits your needs and it feels comfortable.
Mhm.
Plus, you can also check Marketplace. Like, hey, I bought used bikes off Marketplace too.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Just make sure that it's within your size range, and then get it fitted accordingly. There's always adjustments whenever you get a new bike, tweaking the saddle height and the positions and the handlebar angles and all that kind of stuff till you get it just right.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah. I'm excited to get it going because ever since I got out here in LA, the my cardio routine has been a little inconsistent because I had a nice little routine that I would do in New Hampshire where I
Mhm.
would go biking on our rail trail that was like 15 miles long in Goffstown. But now that I didn't know what rail trails were around here, I wasn't able to bring my spin bike that I had that I was doing echelon and Peloton rides on. So I've just been trying to figure out some kind of way to get the cardio in, been doing some walking a lot. There's some like mountains that we've done some hiking on, but I haven't been able to find something like consistent that it's like, okay, this is cardio day. I go do this. So that rail trail, that's something I'm definitely going to utilize. It's only 15 minutes away from the house. So easy to get to.
So, would you ride to the trail and would
No,
you
it's
have?
all no, it's highways to get
Oh,
there. So 15 minutes. Yeah. So I'll drive the car there, but that's the kind of thing I get excited about. Like I could go bring the bike and then that's the day. That's the afternoon right there. I could just spend hours and hours on that trail.
Take advantage of it. And I'm glad that you actually brought that up, like the different elements of fitness. Okay, so you notice the cardio has been lacking a little bit, but how has the strength training been going? Because I know like you're in a new element here. And last podcast we were talking about how you're getting set up with a home gym and things like that. But how's the transition?
Good. I really enjoy like stripping everything down and getting back to like a very basic type of approach. So right now I'm just working with a yoga mat, kettlebells. I have a slant board, some resistance bands, a pull-up bar that attaches to a door frame, and a weighted vest. That's really all I've been using. So doing a lot of like push-ups with like resistance bands on my back for extra added resistance, kettlebell swings and squats in like a rack position, like a goblet squat on like a slant board for legs, taking kettlebells and putting resistance bands around them, stepping on it, and then doing like hinging motions, pull-ups with a weighted vest on, doing gorilla rows with kettlebells. But anyway, I'm getting in all the major movement patterns there and really liking how I finding creative ways to make it more challenging.
Have you done workouts outside, like any of the calisthenics parks or anything like that?
Not yet, just because it's been so hot outside. It's like every day has been like upper 90s kind of thing. So like I could go out and do it, but I have to get up really early in the morning. And plus it's just so convenient being able to work out at home. I could just go to our guest room that we turned into a half guest room, half home gym kind of situation.
I got to ask your opinion on the heat, because this is something I hear a lot of people who live in, like especially the southern United States and different areas where it does get hot. How much of an impact has that made? Because I mean, you're coming from northern United States, northeast, to now you're in this California.
Yeah.
Like, how much of an impact does that make for your workouts?
Well, I mean, I haven't been out here long enough to tell you like all season round,
Right.
but like for instance, like my big brother and my parents, they live in Florida,
Okay,
and
that's hot.
there it's like the humidity is just so brutal. Like it's thick. It's like
Hmm.
you're walking outside, and it feels like you're walking through resistance. Like you could literally feel it. It's palpable. But like out here, it's hot. Like the sun is out and there's no clouds. Like you rarely see a cloud out here. It's just all open blue skies. So the sun is hot, but it's not thick. It's not humid at all. It's very, very
Well,
dry. So it hasn't rained once since we've been here. And I was talking to my cousin who's lived here for years, and he was saying it's very, very rare when it rains. And when it does rain, it's like 10 15 minutes of it and then it goes and then you won't see it again for like another 6 months type of
great.
situation. Yeah, so it's great because it's hot, you get the sun, you get all that. I mean, but at the same time it's not like you walk outside and you're just instantly sweating because of the humidity.
But that certainly does play a role. I mean, just to get acclimated to the heat,
Yeah,
or vice versa, something having to get acclimated to the cold. You
but
know.
you know what I am loving about it is that the weather is so predictable. Like if you look at the weather, like on a weather app or something like that, it's going to be every day is just sunshine, mid 70s to up to 90s. So you don't have to like really strategically plan out your like when you're going to be outside like I was doing in New Hampshire. Like in New
Hmm.
Hampshire, you would like if you had a day off, for instance, right? And it was like July, you could be like, "All right, you guys want to go to the beach?" It's like, "Well, we got to check the weather." And then the weather changes by the hour. So it's like, well, in the morning, it's going to be cloudy from 8 a.m. to 11, but then 11, it's going to open up for 2 hours, but then it's going to rain from 2 to 4. And then after that, we're getting lightning storms followed by, right? It's impossible to do it. But like here, I could ask Caleb, like, hey, do you want to go to Malibu next Thursday? and you know that the weather is going to be beautiful. You know that it's going to be a great beach day, no matter what. We can plan it we can plan it months out in advance.
That's crazy when you think of it, but I can relate to what you're talking about. I mean, like when we're doing anything outside, like it's always look at the weather, look at the weather. Hey Google, what's the weather? Right? I always have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that alone right there is like worth the trip.
I said, hey Google, what's the weather? And she's telling me. There it is. It's 17 degrees right now.
Yeah.
17 degrees and cloudy. All right, shut up,
Yeah.
Google. I'm doing a podcast, Google. Don't you know that? How rude of Google to interrupt my podcast.
I know. What is she thinking? But yeah, everything's going great. We love it. Love the weather. I mean, I'm just excited. We're going to San Diego tomorrow. We're leaving in the morning. We're going for 4 days. I got an uncle who lives down there. So he has a house right on the beach, which is great. So we're going to go down, hang out with him for 4 days, go to the San Diego Zoo. My wife wants to see the sea lions. I think they're sea lions. Hold on, let me ask really quick. Kayla, are they sea lions?
Sea lions and seals.
Sea lions and seals. Yeah.
We went there before. This was years ago. 2012 it was. Myself and Trish went there, and it's absolutely beautiful. It was an amazing zoo.
Yeah. Well, they have the pandas now. Have you seen that?
Yes, there was pandas there as well. Yeah, I actually have some panda poo paper. They sell it like it's a novelty because they take panda poop. There's so much fiber from where they're eating the bamboo, and they actually take the poop and they kind of like recycle it into paper. So I have some sheets of panda poo paper. I've never written on it. It's just kind of like a novelty still on the shelf there, and it doesn't smell, thankfully.
Oh, that's good. You got that back in 2012?
Yes, 2012 from the San Diego Zoo. Yeah, I got some panda poo paper, and I'm sure they're probably still selling it there.
Well, I'll pick up some when I get there, Lee. Yeah.
Hey, you can turn shit into money. Why not? What a business.
Exactly. Yeah, why didn't I think of that?
I'm not going to try it with my poo. I can tell.
Hey, man, could be a hidden revenue stream for you. You just don't know, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got some panda poo paper from the San Diego Zoo. Yep.
You should put that on a T-shirt. I went to the San Diego Zoo, and all I got was this panda poo.
And I mean, I'm glad to hear that things are working out for you. You're finding all those little hidden gems, the hiking trails, the bike trails, and stuff. So yeah, take advantage of that.
And the music too. Did you see that I saw Stevie Wonder the other day?
Yes, you posted that. That was a
yeah
surprise.
What? Like, you don't get that in New Hampshire. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So I just went to this random, I mean, it's not random. I've been going to this club, but like they have this Monday night, like open soul funk jam type of thing. And it's been a really cool hangout spot. Meet a lot of musicians there. And there's a lot of like cool bands. And I got there and a guy I know came up to me. He's like, hey, it's Stevie Wonder's rhythm section is playing tonight, like drums, bass, guitar. And I was like, oh, really cool. So we're watching the first set and they're awesome, and I'm loving it. So I go to the bar to get a water, and the bartender looks at me and he goes, dude, go over there. And I look over there, and it's just Stevie Wonder just hanging out in a booth. Like, it's just like him and his wife and a couple big security guards just like standing around him. And I was like, I love Stevie Wonder. He's one of my all-time favorite musicians, and he's just like a legendary musical icon. So I was so pumped that he was there, and I was like, he's got to play, right? That's his band. Yep. He's here. He's not just going to hang out in the booth. So second set comes on. I get real close to the stage. And there's like under 100 people in the club too. So it's not, there's not a lot of people. I get close to the stage right by the piano. And then all of a sudden I feel this big hand come over to my side and just push me out of the way. And it's the big security guard. So you got big security guard, then you got Stevie Wonder, and then you have another big security guy behind him. Brings him up to the stage. He sings, you are the sunshine of my life. Happy birthday to his wife. And then did Tell Me Something Good by Shaka Khan. And then he walks off the stage. And while he's walking up the stage, I go, I love you, Stevie. And he turns to me, he goes, I love you too. And then just keeps walking. I was like, what?
How cool is that? He just showed up. I mean, you were at the right place at the right time.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, and I'm still wrapping my head around it. And everybody that I know out here, I've been telling them this story, like how I'm telling you. I'm just like, I can't believe that Stevie Wonder was here and everything. And they're just like, welcome to LA, man. That's just like how it is. Like, you're gonna run into famous people at Trader Joe's. It's just like, this is where they all live. So, but still, I mean, 0.00001% chance of catching
Right.
Stevie Wonder at a random club in anywhere. So yeah, so super cool. I mean, that right there, worth the trip.
And how's the music school going? I know you got your new place there in North Hollywood and that. Like, how's that going for you so far?
Good. I got my first student. Which is cool. He's coming in today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about that. I'm trying to like find a balance here because I came out here to do something different. Like, if I wanted to continue to teach and do teaching full time, like, I would have just stayed in New Hampshire.
Right.
But coming out here, it's like, okay, I understand that teaching is something that I'm good at. I have a lot of experience doing it, and I have the means to do it, and I know how to market it and how to build up my roster over time. So I do want to do a little bit of that, but at the same time, like, I don't want to go back to teaching 40 students a week like I was doing in New Hampshire, because I got severely burnt out doing that. So I'm trying to think of different ways to integrate and all the things that I love to do. So what I want to do is I want to find a way to help touring musicians and people who are on the road a lot, and help them find a way to stay in shape, get in shape, and eat well while traveling and living this kind of crazy lifestyle of being on the road all the time. So,
I like that niche. I like how you, because I mean, obviously you are a musician yourself. That's something you got to look into. Is you can't be a trainer for everybody. I mean,
right.
that's one of the things you have to specialize on. The only exception to that is if you're at like a small town gym and you're the personal trainer, then okay, whoever walks in the door, you're going to train them, whether it's a mom, a dad, a teenager, a grandparent, an athlete, or a sedentary person, young, old, male, female. Like, you're going to train them all
Right.
because it's a small town gym, right? And then you're just whoever comes in the door, you're going to coach them. But in the new the new age of coaching, you can't be a trainer for everybody. If you're a
Mm-hmm.
trainer for everybody, you're a trainer for nobody. So you have to dial it in. And like, that's how I've kind of specialized in men over 40, the muscle after 40 blueprint. Because hey, I'm a man over 40. That's who I can relate to. I've gone through the journey. I can relate to the challenges that men over 40 are going through. That's who I want to focus on. I mean, I could coach women. I have coached women and everything else, young and old and everything, but that's not who I resonate and relate with the most. I can resonate and relate to people like me. So that's who I want to coach, men over 40, people like me.
Mm-hmm.
So I love how you're niching that down to musicians, fitness for musicians, because that's I think that's a powerful avenue for you to be in. And of course that could help you with making some connections in that area.
Yeah, totally. I had a phone call with the touring drummer for Matchbox 20 a couple days ago. And
Hmm.
he was really, really cool guy. And he was looking, I mean, before our phone call, like, he was looking up me on Google and on Instagram and stuff like that. And that's actually where I got the idea of kind of leaning into it. Like, he suggested that. He was like, that's a really cool thing that you could do that not a lot of people are doing right now. And there's certainly a need for it. He was telling me how he's been traveling to the Middle East and going to Europe and doing in Japan and all these crazy lengths of touring. And then at the end of it, he was like, yeah, he's like, and it's just really tough because I'm trying to get a six pack for Christmas. And and I was like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, so, we were talking about fitness and dieting on the road and things, and like how to make it work. And it's such a struggle, obviously. I mean, it's a struggle when everything is perfect and you're living in this nice, consistent routine, or working from home or whatever, or going to a job 9 to 5. But like, when your environment is constantly changing, I mean, it's what a struggle it is to find good food, to find good choices, to find the motivation to work out. So that way you can achieve what it is that you want to achieve, and then also perform and operate at your highest potential. Super stressful type of job, like performing in front of 40,000 people.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Mm-hmm.
is there any potential there to work with this guy? Or
Sure. Yeah. We talked about exchanging and, bartering. So personal training for his kind of mentorship there. Yeah. Everything looks really cool on that. And he's a really cool guy. And we have that in common. We're the same age, roughly. I'm 36. He's 35. We both love to play the drums. We're both into fitness and everything. So yeah, for sure. It's
Awesome.
great. I've noticed that like the guys out here who are like really, really serious about it, like who do like big tours and stuff like that, like they take health and fitness like very, very seriously. It's long gone are the days of like the 1980s with like Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne like destroying hotel rooms and getting drunk every single night and doing crazy drugs and everything and going from town to town. Like musicians are realizing that if you're going to do this long term and be good at it, then you need to take care of your body. You need to take care of your health and your fitness. And that's great. That's super refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a different mindset than the sex, drugs, and rock and roll lifestyle that we all hear about. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds cool and everything else, but like that is not that's not a healthy or sustainable way to go.
Right. The guys I've talked to who are like we'll talk about being on tour, and they're like, yeah, like we get done the show, we're going back to the hotel room. We're getting sleep because the next day we got to be at the airport at 6 a.m. because we're flying 12 hours to Japan or something like that for 2 weeks. So like nobody's doing that kind of stuff anymore. It's just it doesn't make sense if you're going to do this long term. It's hard enough as it is.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And the drummer you were talking about, what band was he with again? Who was it?
Matchbox 20. Do you know them?
Matchbox 20. Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
He's the drummer for Matchbox 20?
He's the
Or
touring drummer for Matchbox 20. So he's not like the official like member of the band, but he's he's the touring drummer of it. So like it's there's a lot of that out here. It's like a hired gun type of approach. So like let's say the drummer for like Matchbox 20 can't make like a certain amount of dates or something like that. Like they call in a guy to come in and play the gig because they know he's going to crush it and he's a good guy and a good hang. Or maybe they have like the drummer for Matchbox 20 gets up during certain songs and like goes out and plays percussion or sings songs or plays another instrument like a mandolin or something like that. Then they still need somebody playing the drums, so they have him behind him coming up on stage. I mean, I don't know like the complete logistics of it, but that's how it works. Another guy I know out here, he was the touring drummer for Weezer for a stretch of tour dates because the drummer, I don't know, he couldn't make a certain amount of dates or whatever. But like he went home and then the guy picked up the gig and did like 2 or 3 months with Weezer in Germany and then came home. So it was like a short-term 3-month contract type of thing. You're on the road for that amount of time and then you come back.
Gotcha. So like that's ultimately one of your goals is you'd love to be that touring drummer.
I would love to be that guy. Yeah, I would love to be that guy. This is where it all happens, is out here. So I'm trying to find out, okay, who are the people that do what it is that I want to do? And how can I build some kind of relationship with them? How can I get closer to them either by having them be my teacher, paying for mentorship, paying for private lessons, something like that. Finding some way to build relationships with the people that it is, just hanging around them, right? Because we talked about this on previous podcasts, like you become the people that you hang around with the most. So if I can find out who those people are and try to build relationships with them, then the greater chance of that happening to me one day.
Absolutely. I mean, Jim Rohn, I believe, was the guy who coined the phrase that you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. Now, whether he came up with it or heard it off someone else, that's who I heard it from first. And Jim Rohn's an old school personal development guru, was one of the original mentors for Tony Robbins when he was a young guy starting out.
Mm-hmm.
But he had that phrase, like, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And it's pretty darn accurate. Like, if you look in general, the people who you associate with the most, like your friends, your family, your coworkers, who you spend time with, you're very often like people hang around like people, right? Like musicians hang around other musicians,
Right.
athletes hang around other athletes,
Mm-hmm.
cyclists hang around other cyclists. What computer nerds hang around other computer nerds. Like we hang
Right.
around people who are like and who we want to be like. So that is so powerful. You want to get around people, and ideally people who are going to pull you up to the higher level, people who are operating at a higher level than you are, so they can pull you up versus hanging around people who are, you know, kind of like the crabs in the bucket who are going to pull you down. And I think
Right.
that's part of the reason why you made this whole lifestyle switch and moved across the country is you were kind of like the big fish in a small pond in New Hampshire. You want to be the small fish in a much bigger pond and have
Yeah.
them pull you up, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because I could see the next 20 years, 30 years of my life playing out in front of me in New Hampshire. It was going to be pretty much just riding the straight line, linear line till the end. And like, it might go up. I might have some more gigs or make more money this year playing more gigs, or it might dip. I might lose a couple students or something, but it was going to be pretty much the
Mhm.
same for the next, like, 20, 30 years. And that was if I was lucky, right? If I was lucky and like everything health wise, it turned out okay. And economy wise, I mean, you never know when there's going to be a pandemic or something that's going to destroy everything.
Mhm.
It just seemed boring to me, and it seemed uninteresting, and it just seemed like there was so much more out there that was possible. So
Yeah.
like do something scary and uproot everything and try to start again.
Yeah, and that getting outside your comfort zone, that is a huge thing for sure. I mean, just to have the courage to do that. And like this parallels perfectly into fitness because I mean, like getting outside your comfort zone, for some people that might be joining the gym, right? Like cuz hey, there's that's totally outside my element. I've never been a gym goer before. I've never been into sports or athletics. That seems like such a scary ordeal to go to the gym. But
Yeah.
once you get there and you make that transition, and you find like it's probably not as intimidating as you thought it was. And then
Mhm.
there's also people there to help support you along the way. But you got to have the courage to make that first step. And
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like once you put the ball in motion, things start to fall in place. Like you're going to find people and situations and things that are going to start to help you. I mean, it's not going to be instantaneous, like the whole
No.
overnight success type thing, but the dominoes start to fall over, and eventually it'll start to move in your favor. And
Mhm.
that applies with the coaching program. Like the whole idea of what we're trying to create with the Muscle After 40 Blueprint program is to create that community of like-minded people who are there to pull each other up to a higher level. And it's amazing to see the transformations. I mean, like you're a prime example of it. You're a product of the program. You've gone through it, but so
Mhm.
many other people have gone through it, and just seeing the transformations take place and then the support and the friendships and the camaraderie that's been developed through this,
Yeah.
it's really inspiring to see, right? It's like
Yeah.
that high tide rising all ships.
Yeah, yeah. I remember going through the program the first time, and it was cool being in the group, in the Facebook groups, and everybody posting their pictures and being like, or their progress or their struggles, and just relating with that, and helping it motivate myself to keep going. Because over time, it was like I started to get comments on things and being like, oh wow, Jeff's really killing it, and Jeff's really inspiring me, and everything. And it was like, oh, okay, cool. Now it's like I'm not just doing this for myself, I'm doing this for other people as well, because they're seeing me and they're thinking, oh wow, Jeff's really inspiring me to get to the gym this week because of how often he's been doing it. And it was super inspiring for me. So my inspirations inspiring others inspired me to keep going and get
The
even better.
circle, right?
Yeah, right. And it just kept feeding it over and over. And as the weeks and months went by, it almost made it automatic, and it became easy to get to the gym and easy to work out because of all of that validation and support I was getting from everybody in the group.
And staying plugged into a community like that is so powerful as well, because this is something that I see a lot is people self-sabotage sometimes once they achieve a certain level of success. I was actually having some conversations with people recently who had worked out in the past, former competitive bodybuilders or former athletes. So like back in the day I was in shape, but life catches up with them. Career, family, just busy with life and responsibilities. And then next thing you know, the diet starts to slide. The alcohol consumption gets out of control. The exercise falls to the wayside. And next thing you know, they're okay, I'm 300 pounds, I'm obese. What the hell happened? Like, who's the fat guy looking back at me in the mirror? But then they're like, but I know what to do because I was in shape in the past, right? Like, hey, I used to be fit. I used to be an athlete. I used to be a whatever. So they're always kind of like reliving their glory days and thinking, yeah, I can get back to that. But you got to realize you're at a different stage now, especially for people who are over 40 and maybe you were in shape back in your college days or something like that. Like, it takes a different level of mindset, a different level of training, a different level of just preparedness all over to go from out of shape to in shape when you have an aging body, more responsibilities, family, career, everything else, children or grandchildren in some cases. Like all that stuff, I mean, it challenges you in ways that a single college student doesn't have. I can relate to this back when I was competing in bodybuilding. Like, to go to the gym and work out for 2 hours was nothing when I was single. Like, I had all the time to do it. And I couldn't relate to people who said, "Oh, I don't have time to go to the gym or I'm too busy." I'm like, "What do you mean you're too busy? Like, what do you mean you don't have time to go to the gym?" But now, like as a parent myself and with all the responsibilities and stuff, like, okay, now I can relate to what they're saying. And you have to make the best of that situation. And it's a different approach. And the big thing that I keep coming back to is it doesn't have to be perfect. Good enough and good enough consistently, and just making it better than it was before. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing where a lot of people self-sabotage is they have this all or nothing mindset. Like, if I can't be perfect, if I can't be 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, low carb, super strict diet, meal plans timed out perfectly, blah 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 blah. If I can't have all that, then what's the point of doing anything at all? And they
Yeah.
end up all or nothing. And that slippery slope. And in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, one of these days I'm going to go all in, right? I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go all in. Meanwhile, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, you're getting fatter, you're unhealthier. It's accumulating, but you're still living in the glory days of, hey, I used to be fit when I was in college, when I was your age, right?
Oh God, I've caught myself saying that a few times
Right?
lately.
When I was your
Oh,
age.
when I was that age. I'm like, oh no.
Of course, we have to acknowledge things are going to change. Like, I mean, I'm not as strong or as muscular as I was when I was at my peak, in my late 20s, early 30s, in my bodybuilding heyday, if you will.
Yeah.
But there's other areas of fitness where I'm far superior, like in cardiovascular and endurance and stamina and stuff. Like, I never had the endurance like this when I was younger. So it's there's other ways to improve and other ways to still grow and to progress. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
You know,
Totally. Yeah. 100%. There's
but
always a silver lining with everything.
yeah, and I'm just curious, Jeff. Now, like in your situation, because you've been on this journey for several years now. Have you noticed any self sabotage or any, I don't know what the word is, like you hit your peak and then you sometimes get comfortable and you slide? Has that ever happened to you?
Not for like super long stretches or like periods of time. Like my wife sometimes she thinks I'm an alien because I'm really, really consistent, really, really disciplined with everything. And I over the years, like, yeah, there's been times where we'll go on vacations or like during the road trip, traveling across the country or coming out here, like exploring and checking out all the good food that's being offered out here. I mean, that's been really, really tough. We found this place down the road. It's called Scaff's in Glendale, which anybody who's in the Glendale area, you got to check out this place, Scaff's. I'm not endorsed by them. It's just the place. It's the food is incredible. It's Mediterranean food. And they have this hummus there that is just unbelievable. It is so good. And it comes out with this pita bread, and it's like, it's impossible not to eat it. And then the baklava that they give you at the end is just like incredible too. So things like that, since we've been here, it has not been like as 100% strict and dedicated to nutrition as much as I was out in New Hampshire. But out in New Hampshire, we had two choices for restaurants. You can go get Chinese or you can go to the pub if you're going to go out to eat. And then, we went to the pub last week, so we should go to the Chinese place this week. I don't really feel like Chinese, so let's go back to the pub. And then you end up getting the same. So but like out here, it's like you get a Mediterranean, you get Armenian food, you could get Vietnamese food, you get Korean barbecue, you could get Mexican. It's all top of the line, great stuff. So I have not been as strict to the diets as I would like to be, because I want to explore and I want to check out the food here. I don't want to come to LA and not eat the food, right? That would be ridiculous. And then going like 20 years from now, being like, I remember we lived in LA. It's like, yeah, I just sat and ate chicken and rice for 20 years. It's like I never had any of that. So I want to go out and explore and check that out. But I have noticed the good enough consistently and just by sticking to core, like basic principle habits there, like just making sure that I'm getting in my workouts and that most of my meals are going to be things that I cook at home and are going to be lean options, single whole ingredient foods. Just by sticking to those basic principles, like 80-90% of the time, I haven't put on any additional weight or anything. And I don't think I look really any different than when I was in New Hampshire. And if I do, it's like it would be so small that you wouldn't be able to tell. It's not like I put on 20 pounds otherwise, right? Since I've been out here. So sticking to the basic core principle habits that I learned in the program, making sure that I'm getting in my strength training workouts, that I'm on track with my nutrition 80-90% of the time, that I'm eating lean, whole, single ingredient, healthy options, making sure that the portions are in check, things like that. That'll give you more freedom. So you can go out and you can enjoy things that might not be on your diet program more often without seeing a regression in your progress.
I appreciate you for sharing that. That's really good. One of the key things that I have in place now, I have like checks and balances to make sure that things don't get out of control. And I actually posted this to our VIP Muscle After 40 coaching group today. I shared how I gained a little bit of weight over the past week. I've noticed it. Like it's and my threshold for weight right now is 200 pounds. Like I always want to keep my weight sub 200 pounds. Like 190 is like my ideal weight. If I'm there, like I'm lean, visible abdominal definition, like that's my ideal weight where I feel good, but I'm not depleted. So like 190 is my ideal range, but sometimes it creeps up. And it actually, this week when I checked my weight last, it was just yesterday, it had crept up to 200 pounds. It's like, okay, that's my, the alarms are flashing. That's the check engine light coming on, right? That's, get your crap together, right? We got to get this under control. And I just want to share like how that actually came about, because it's ironic how the weight crept up, because this past week I've been doing some big cycling rides, and I just for me, right? I mean, I know it's all relative for everybody, but this past week I'm just shy of 400 kilometers for the week. So a couple of big rides, a couple smaller rides, and then a couple of 100+ kilometer rides back to back. And in order to do these big days on the bike, where you're talking like 6+ hours moving time each day, you got to eat to keep your blood sugar up, to keep your carbohydrates and your glycogen up. Like you just can't do that fasted. Like, people say, oh, I do fasted cardio. Yeah, that's great if you're doing like an hour or less, but you're not doing 6 hours of fasted cardio, like, because you literally run out of glycogen, you run out of energy. And people who've never experienced this don't understand it, but it's the term they use is bonking. It's when you run out of glycogen. It's like your car running out of gas. Like, hey, the car is running great, even though the gas light's on, the car's still running great. And then all of a sudden it's just put. What's wrong with the car? It was running great a minute ago, but now it's not running anymore. The same thing happens to your body when you run out of glycogen. Like, you could be going doing your fasted cardio and, maybe you're an hour in, like, hey, this is easy, nothing to it. I feel great. But then you go 2 hours in and then all of a sudden it's like you hit the wall, like boom, like there's
Mhm.
nothing.
Yeah.
So to avoid that, you have to eat during the rides. And I've been eating more during those rides. And then of course, hungry and kind of using the ride as well. Hey, I burnt all these calories. I deserve to have a bit more. Hey, let's enjoy ourselves here, right? So I ended up eating a bit more to compensate for those rides, and that's what actually caused my weight to spike, right? Because even
Yeah.
though I burnt a massive amount of calories, I consumed a massive amount of calories. So you can't outtrain a poor diet.
Right.
And I ended up gaining a few extra pounds that I didn't want to. So that was my check and balance. Once I seen 200 pounds hit the scale, it's like, well, okay, let's get this
Mhm.
shit together. Get under wraps before it gets out of control. And
Yeah.
I think most people, first off, they're not checking their weight on a regular basis and they don't have these checks and balances. So it's slowly creeping up and they don't notice it until it's serious,
Yeah.
until they go to the doctor and say, hey, you have high blood pressure, you have high blood sugar, you're pre-diabetic, there's something wrong here. Like you have some serious issues to deal with. Now, trying to deal with that is a lot bigger of a task than if you had these checks and balances earlier on, so that as soon as you go off track, you're off course. It's like beep, 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 get back on course again. Almost like
Yeah.
an airplane flying across the country. You heard that analogy. Like it's off course 90% of the time, but it has these checks and balances where, okay, once you're so far off course, okay, the autopilot corrects it and brings it back on course again, right? You go off
Mhm.
course, it brings it back on course. So that 200 pounds, that's my autocorrect, if you will. Like once I hit 200 pounds, oh, I got to get back on course again.
Yeah.
And that's what's allowed me to stay in shape and keep my weight like 90+% of the time under 200 pounds for the past
Mhm.
going on 6 years now. Whereas before, when I was doing the all or nothing bodybuilding type approach, like cutting and bulking and all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't be able to keep my weight down. I mean, I was way too heavy, way too heavy for most of the time. So
Yeah.
this is how it stays sustainable. I mean, you're still going to go through your ups and downs along the way, but you have to have those checks and balances.
For
That's the
sure.
key. And I know, like, you're going through this. I just want to share, like, you're going through this now. So you enjoy those restaurants in LA.
Mhm.
It might start to like, oh, wait a minute, there's an extra pound on the scale here. And a little creep, creep, creep. Like then that might be your check and balance. Like, okay, we need to dial this back down a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll happen, and it's fine. Like, another thing is I have the opposite problem. I end up being too strict and end up being too disciplined to the point where, like, I don't have any flexibility at all whatsoever. And for me, I'm trying to have more flexibility and come to the realization that, like, yes, I do this because I love it. I do it semi-professionally, I guess, but, like, I do it for my own health, my own well-being, and for quality of life. So, like, if I don't have shredded six-pack abs, like, really, really super lean 365 days out of the year, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. Like, if I was getting ready for a competition or a beach vacation or something like that, and I want it to look a certain way, then yeah, I would tighten things up a little bit. But, like, that's my problem, is that I keep things super tight and super strict all year round. I have that type of discipline. I have that type of consistency there, to the point where I don't go out and I experience things as much as I should. So, or to the point where, like, my wife starts to get irritated with me because things I become unflexible
Mm-hmm.
with certain things. So that's my problem. So it's actually me going out to restaurants and trying out this food, to me, is actually progress, if that makes sense for
Yep.
me mentally.
It does, because again, this comes to like the all or the nothing. Like you have to learn how to master the in between, and this is where the whole good enough and good enough consistently concept comes in. You can take things to either extreme. Like some people just like, I don't care, I'm eating whatever the hell I want. If I die of a heart attack at 40, then so be it. That's my time. What was it? Like, yeah, you only live once. Who cares, right? Enjoy
Right.
life while you can. Yeah, okay, that's one extreme. And then the other extreme is I got to be count every calorie I consume. Every meal is a boiled chicken and broccoli out of a Tupperware
Yeah.
container, with my
Mhm.
distilled water. Like
Yeah.
that's the other extreme, right? You got to
Right.
have somewhere in the middle, right? That balance where you're enjoying life, you're still making progress, but it's not extreme to one or the other. And that again, that's what we really try and cover within our whole coaching program is having that sustainable approach. And
Mhm.
I can certainly relate to that. Like back in the day when I was competing in bodybuilding, it was put the blinders on, for the next 3 to 4 months. There's no restaurants, there's no cheat meals, there's no parties or celebrations or like I would purposely avoid anything that had to do with social outings. Like, hey, people say it's your grandmother's birthday. Are you going to come wish Nan a happy birthday? I'll say no, because I don't want to be tempted by the food. I don't want to be offered a piece of cake. I would make up an excuse that I can't go. It
Yeah.
works. Don't get me wrong. That approach works from getting in shape, but look at all the life experiences that you're missing out on. You miss out on meaningful moments with friends and family because you wanted to stick to your diet.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
know, like at the
Totally.
end of your life, are you going to look back and say, "Gee, I wish I spent more time at the gym, or I wish I had stuck to my diet more." Now, in some cases, maybe you do, especially if you're gone to the other extreme. You wish, yeah, I had spent more time in the gym. I wish I had ate better. But
Mhm.
there's the balance for both sides, and
Yeah.
it's tricky. It's an all or nothing or one size fits all. Like you have to find what works best for you, and I'm glad you're bringing this up because this is the real challenges that people deal with, like with their nutrition. How do you make it good enough, and how do you make it good enough consistently? I mean, how are you doing it? Like, let's just say, okay, you're going to go try some. You're going to go to that Mediterranean restaurant that you mentioned, or something like that. You're going to go to a restaurant tonight.
Mhm.
How would you plan your day? Would you do anything different that day to plan for that restaurant meal that night? Hmm.
So making sure that I'm eating good choices leading up to that meal, so that way I don't get there and I'm already over my calorie limit for the day, because that would definitely set it over the edge. Drinking a lot of water, making sure you're having water with your meal when you are having that Mediterranean meal at night. Trying to make sure that I got in all my workouts during the week, and then just trying to like eat slowly while having that meal and making sure that I'm not just plowing through it. And then seeing too, like what are the choices? Like Mediterranean food isn't too bad. Like it's mostly like chicken, rice, salads, but like, salads that are drenched in tons of dressing.
Oils,
Tzatziki,
olive oil, and
yeah,
stuff.
olive oils and things like that. I mean, but it's not like it's like fried chicken or something like that. It's not ideal, but is it the worst possible choice that I could have made? No. So everything is on a spectrum, and we've talked about this in the past before.
Mhm.
There's not good and there's not bad. It's like, is this leaning more towards good or is it leaning more towards bad here, right? And in terms of cheat meals, like there are worse things that I could have done. I could have sat on the couch and had an entire box of Oreos, but instead I still got chicken, I still got rice into the mix. They still got there's a lot of fats, but there a lot of it's healthy fats. There's still vegetables in the meal. So it's not like it's a complete throw everything out the window and let it all go. And I never have those, by the way. I never have those moments where it's like it's like, all right, here's my cheat meal, and then I sit on the couch, watch a movie, and eat an entire half gallon of ice cream. Like that,
Yeah.
I never have that, or like Oreos or Reese's cups or stuff like that. It's not to say I wouldn't have a Reese's cup, a small amount of something as opposed to having a binge.
I can certainly appreciate that, and a lot of my cheat meals, treat meals, whatever. I like the term free choice meals because when you say it's a cheat meal or something like that, it kind of gives it a negative connotation. But a free choice meal where you're going to eat to enjoy the food, it's not necessarily bad. It's just something
Right.
you're eating food because you enjoy it. And the thing is, a lot of people try to treat food as fuel, like, oh, you're just fueling the machine, right? It's just protein, carbs, and fats. It's just calories and macros, and thinking of it as a very black and white. And it's not, because food is part of our culture. It's part of our who we are. There's so much to food that's more than just calories and macros. It's
Totally.
part of our life experience. Like we celebrate over food. We get
Mhm.
together, family meals and things like that. So it's such a huge part of it, and you can't ignore that because that's that also. I mean, that's the juice of life for a lot of people. You have to find a way to balance that. And I know, like, when we go on vacations, we want to try different restaurants and things like that. And one of my strategies that I will use is, if I know we're going out to a restaurant, one thing that I will try to do that day is I'll purposely scale back my food intake, but I won't eliminate it. So
Mhm.
I'll focus on like protein and veggies, like low calorie protein and veggie options throughout the day. Have some protein for breakfast, have some, maybe like a chicken salad or something like that for lunch, keeping it very low key, but I'm still providing some of the nutrients, that high nutrient dense food that your body needs, so that you're fueling it on the cellular level. And then calorie wise, you're making room for that bigger meal later, whatever it is, your restaurant meal. And then
Yep.
afterwards, the key is to get right back on track for your very next meal. Not let it spiral out of control. Like, let's just say Friday night rolls around and we're going out to a restaurant and you're like, oh, I blew it. I'll start again on Monday. So then you had a high calorie meal Friday night, where you're going to start again on Monday. Well, you better get those cravings out of your system over the weekend. So you're going to end up eating way too much and poor choices on Saturday. Definitely going to make poor choices on Sunday, because, hey, the diet starts on Monday. So get
Mhm.
all those cravings out of the way now. And then you start your quote unquote diet on Monday. You just way overkilled and did so much damage over that weekend. Whereas if you had have enjoyed the meal on Friday, and then very next meal, or at least the very next day, Saturday
Mhm.
morning, get right back on track again. Just look at all the damage that would not have been done just by starting sooner versus starting on Monday. And there's nothing magical about Mondays. Get that crap out of your head thinking that workouts have to start on Monday, diets have to start on Monday. No, they start the next meal, the next day, the very
Mhm.
next section. Don't
Yep.
prolong it. People, I'll start on Monday. I'll start next week. I'll start next month. I'll start next year. No, start now. Start
Yep.
now, like, in the moment. Do not put it off. So that can have a huge impact. Another one, I think you already mentioned this as well. Like, if possible, get in a good workout before that meal. Like, for me, I mean, this is kind of how I actually gained those few pounds that I mentioned earlier. Like, I went for, okay, like, I go for a 6 hour bike ride before we went out to the restaurant meal. Now, I still consumed a lot of calories so it did put me into a slight surplus. But just think of how less of a surplus it was because I had done that big bike ride. So that
Mhm.
still minimized the damage.
Yeah.
So that another thing that I do as well is, when you're at restaurants, be mindful of the food choices. Like, if you're at an Italian restaurant, what do they always do? They bring up the bread basket and the butter and the cheeses and stuff like that, and say, while
Mhm.
you're waiting for your food, like, if they bring that out, I just say, no thanks, bring it back. Or if other people are at the table and they want to eat it, well, here, give them the bread basket. Like, I don't
Right.
want it in arm's reach.
Yeah.
I I don't want to be tempted and fill up on these empty calories, because I didn't go to the restaurant to eat bread and butter. I went
Yeah.
there for the main course. Or if you're at a Mexican place, they bring out chips and salsa. Like, I didn't go to the restaurant to eat chips and salsa. I
Right.
want to enjoy my main course. I'm not filling up on that empty filler food. So,
Mhm.
either ask the waiter to take it away, or if someone else wants to enjoy it at the table, then let them have it. But I'm going to wait for my main course that I actually want to enjoy.
Right.
And even then, you can make better choices, like choose the grilled chicken versus the fried.
Yep.
Choose the vegetables instead of the French fries. Like, little in the moment choices like this, you can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And you
Totally.
still get to enjoy the restaurant experience. You're still eating out with friends and family and enjoying the experience. You know,
Focus on what you can do and not what you can't do. And also realize that it's a progression. Like you and I, Lee, have been doing this for years,
hmm
and we have everything, or a lot of things, pretty much dialed in at this point, where they become just automatic behaviors. And just realizing that if you're just starting out, that it's going to take time, and that you're going to have to progress to where we are right now. So like
absolutely.
we have more flexibility to go out and have cheat meals and things like that because of where we are. Like we have more muscle on our frame, our metabolisms are faster, and we can get away with having cheat meals and things like that. But like if you're just starting out, obviously you probably got to be a little bit more stricter at the beginning to make some initial progress, right? But focusing on making that progress and the short steps that you're taking to get to the long-term goal over time, right? In other words, don't compare yourselves to us. Try to make progress from where you are.
Absolutely. That is key. And another thing is not getting hung up on the initial weight loss at the beginning. Like a lot of people, they go on a diet today and they jump on the scale and expect to lose weight tomorrow. It's not an instantaneous thing. There's always a lag time between the effort you put in and the actual results you're going to see. I came to really appreciate this back when I was competing in bodybuilding because after year of shows, I realized if I start taking progress pictures and measurements and weighing myself too soon, it was almost frustrating because the progress didn't happen fast enough.
Mhm.
I've been dieting for a whole week and I don't look any different, right?
Yeah.
You take I took progress pictures last Saturday, and now this Saturday I take another progress picture, and like, uh, well, I don't look any different. Where's the progress? So what
Right.
I used to do initially is for the first month of my contest diet, I wouldn't even track my progress. I would
Mhm.
just focus on the habits, just focus on, okay, I'm just going to clean up my eating habits. I'm going to increase my cardio, make sure that I'm consistent with the workouts. Like I'm going to do all the action steps, but I'm not even going to step on the scale. I'm not even going to worry about, taking pictures and measurements. I'm just going to focus on the habits.
Yeah.
And then after that first month, then I would start actually, okay, I'm going to take weekly progress pictures. I'm going to take measurements and track the weight more consistently because once you get that initial lag time out of the system, like that initial month was my transition month, then
Mhm.
you start to see some results happening. Whereas a
Right.
lot of people, they want the magic transformation. They want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, and it ain't going to happen.
Right. I have this friend of mine that he struggles with his weight all the time, and he reaches out to me and he asks me, he's like, okay, he's like, tell me everything that you're eating. And it's like, it doesn't matter what I am eating here because of it's where I am after doing this for years and years and years, right? It's like, let's take a
Mhm,
look at what you're eating. If 9 out of 10 out of my meals are on point, then I can have one meal that's not on point to have a little bit of flexibility, right? But like
mhm.
if 10 out of 10 of your meals are not on point, then you need to focus this week on having one healthy meal. What are you drinking? Are you drinking a lot of soda? Are you drinking a lot of high calorie? Are you drinking your calories per se? Are you drinking a lot of beer or something like that? It's like, are you having 6 beers a week? Okay, well, this week have 5 beers or have 4 beers or something like that. Because that's what ends up happening with my friend is he's like, all right, what are you eating? And then I tell him what he's eating, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And then he tries to go and eat like I'm eating all week long, and then calls me the second week and he's like, this sucks, I can't do it. Like, and then he ends up falling back into what he was doing because it was too extreme. It was too extreme and it was too fast. And you need to build up to that is what I'm getting at. And some people have more tolerance for it. Some people can go right in. Like for me, like I love all kinds of food. So for me, it's like, yeah, I can eat chicken and rice or vegetables. And I love vegetables. So that's never been an issue for me. But some people hate vegetables. So they have to work up into including vegetables into their diet slowly and progressively over time. So everybody's different. So just take a honest view of where you are right now and just think like, okay, what is the smallest possible change that I could make right now that could lead to a big change over time? If I'm drinking regular soda, I'm going to drink diet soda. If I'm drinking
Mhm.
diet soda, I'm going to start drinking water. If I drink X amount of these cans a week, I'm going to try to drink a couple less or something like that, right? And then let it happen slowly, naturally over time, and you'll be there before you know it. But don't look at what Lee and I are eating or what your favorite influencers are eating or your favorite fitness masters are eating and then try to go right into their program because you're going to crash and burn.
That's a great point, Jeff. I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people suffer from that. They literally just try to duplicate, whatever the so-called celebrity or influencers program is, and very often it is a recipe for disaster because you're not them. You're not at their level, and it just has to be better than it was before. That's
Mhm.
the key thing you have to keep reminding yourself, especially when you're starting this journey, is what was I doing before? How can I make it a little bit better than that? And I
Right.
remember a few years back, I was coaching a young man who was really overweight, like pushing 400 pounds, and just addicted to fast food. Like every single day, he was eating burgers and fries, like McDonald's and similar type meals, at least twice a day, plus snacking and eating a lot of processed foods at home, drinking a lot of soda pop, like the type of things that you would consume to become almost 400 pounds, right? That was his life. And there was no exercise. So we started off bare bones basic. And of course, he was nervous and scared about joining the program. He's like, "Oh, am I going to have to give up McDonald's? Am I going to have to get this?" And like, "Oh, I don't know." And I said, "Okay, what do you normally have when you go to McDonald's?" And it was like, "Okay, I'm going to have a Big Mac and supersized fries and a large Coke." I said, "Okay, how about we have a medium sized fries and a Diet Coke? Just get your Big Mac, order a medium sized fries and a Diet Coke." That was one of the changes we made. And also just trying to get out for a walk. And he was so heavy, like he couldn't go for a proper walk. So he'd go to the park where there was all these park benches, and he would
Mhm.
literally like walk to one bench, sit down and rest for a few minutes, walk to the next bench, sit down and rest for a few minutes. Like that was his exercise to start with.
Yeah,
And as
cool.
simple as that was, switching from a regular Coke to a Diet Coke, supersized fries to a medium sized fries, like he was losing weight. The weight was dropping on the scale. And once
Mhm.
that momentum starts, you start to feel a little bit of, wow, I feel a little bit better. Wow, I've dropped a few pounds on the scale. And then,
Mhm.
okay, now I can walk, I can skip this park bench and I can walk to the next one. Like
Mhm.
it was so small. I mean, I know some people would look at that and almost like be laugh at it, like the level of diet or the level of exercise that he was doing. But at his stage, that was better than it was before. That was progress. And we got to
Totally.
celebrate those little steps of progress. Sometimes we have to start at the bare bones basic. And parents should be able to really appreciate this, because look at when you're teaching your kids stuff, especially if you got kids who are like in elementary school or primary school and stuff. Like they're trying to learn to read and write and count to 10 and learn their alphabets, like stuff that grown adults hopefully should be able to do.
Right.
Hopefully, I question it sometimes,
Mhm.
but most of them
Yep.
should be able to do this. You got to start at the basics, right? You got to start at the bare bones basics, and that is progress. And
Yeah.
it's easy to get caught up with going on YouTube, and then you're seeing these people doing crazy feats of strength, what like all these different push-up challenges, or people doing muscle ups and
It's
bench
discouraging.
press. Yeah, right. Like whatever the hell they're doing. Like you're seeing guys who are huge and ripped and shredded and doing all these crazy feats of strength and stuff, and you're like, man, I can't even walk a mile.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it never ends, by the way. No matter how
Never.
good you're always going to be discouraged by other people at some point, right?
Yep.
I hit my muscle up a couple of years ago, and I remember when I hit my muscle up, I was so amped. I was like, "That is so cool!" Like I was doing a muscle up, and then the second I posted that I had done a muscle up on my fitness page, all of a sudden now the algorithm picked up that I was doing muscle ups, I guess, because then everything I was seeing after that was like people doing cleaner muscle ups with weights, muscle ups turning into a handstand on rings, muscle up into a full back lever, into a front lever, into an L sit, into a right. And
Made you
it's
feel like shit all of a sudden. Like you're so proud, and now like letting air
yeah,
out of the
right. Something that took me 2 years to achieve of achieving a muscle up, and it took 2 years of like consistent training, like really, really wanting it, just to immediately be thrown it, like having all that thrown into my face. I remember you saying that too. We were talking about building strength and bench pressing, and you were saying, I think that what was your best bench press again?
My personal best was 445 pounds.
Yeah,
That
I remember you telling me that, and then I was like, wow, that must have been incredible. And you were like, honestly, I was like, when I hit it, I was like, why can't I hit 500 pounds? There's people hitting 500 pounds. I mean, if 445 pounds is an obscene amount of weight,
I
that's
mean, I can't do
insane.
that now. I'm nowhere near that now. But at the
Hmm.
time, I did it and I wasn't satisfied with it. I mean, yes, I was happy I hit a personal best, but all I could see was, I got to get 500. I got to get 500. It's never enough. Like, no matter what it is you achieve, it's never enough. If somebody loses weight and, okay, now all of a sudden they got a flat stomach, then that's not good enough. Whereas when you had a pot belly and rolls of fat hanging over your belt, you would have loved to have a flat stomach. But once you get the flat stomach, it's not, oh, now I want to have abs. And then you can start to see the outline of your abs. Maybe you got a 4-pack. Well, that's not good enough. I want to have a 6-pack. And then when you get the 6-pack, well, that's not good enough. Now I want to have striations and I want to have vascularity. And it's always another level. It never ends. You have to appreciate the progress you make. And the crazy thing is you will get to the point, like, once you hit the peak and then you start to come back down the other side, which, as a man over 40, I'm coming down the other side in ways. Like, I'm not as big as I once was. I'm not as strong as I once was. I'm looking back at some of those lifts that I did and took for granted. I'm like, man, that was freaking impressive. Like, I wish I could do that now. Right?
445 pounds is insane. I've never come anywhere close to that.
It was a double body weight bench for me at the time, because I weighed 220 when I did it. So I was so stoked, because not only was it 445, but it was a double body weight bench. And that's kind of like in powerlifting numbers, like, those are kind of like the gold standards that people try to hit, like a double body weight bench and a triple body weight squat and deadlift. Mm-hmm. Now, I never did hit the triple body weight squat and deadlift, but I did hit the double body weight bench.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome.
But then when I hit it, all I was thinking about, but yeah, there's people who are stronger than me.
Yeah. Right. And especially nowadays on social media too, like, you see the 0.0001% of people who have achieved that elite level of strength that nobody, like, that you'll never see anybody just at your local mom and pop gym doing, but now you see it all the time. And
you think that's the new norm, right? That's the thing. Like, you watch these videos on YouTube and Instagram and wherever, Facebook and stuff, and TikTok, and you see all these feats of strength and everybody's ripped and jacked and that, but everybody, as in like the top 1% of the top 1% who are actually posting these videos, like, you're looking at the cream of the crop, if you will, mm-hmm. and then thinking, well, everybody's doing that. But you actually go to the gym and you realize nobody's doing this.
Doing that.
I can't remember the last time I went to the gym and seen someone with 4 plates on the bench press. Like, no. Right. Like, I'm sure there's probably some guys there who can, but like, it's not a daily occurrence, put it that way. Right. It's very freaking rare.
And let's say you were just getting into strength training, like, kind of relating it to diet for a second there, like what we were talking about before. Like, you wouldn't just start on your first day to the gym. You've never ever gone before, see the guy with the 4 plates on the bench and then try to sit down and do it. It's the same deal with diet and nutrition. It's like, you wouldn't see the guy who's got the 6-pack abs, and when you weigh 400 pounds and look at him and go, okay, I'm going to eat exactly what he's eating. It doesn't work like that.
Now that you mentioned that, I remember a few years back, well, this is a good many years back, there was a young guy came into the gym. He still had his coat on and everything else. Like, he just walked into the gym, walked over to the bench press. He put 2 plates aside on the bench, took off his coat, got under the bench, unracked the weight, and then he was just stapled to the bench.
No warm up.
Nothing. No warm up, no nothing, and just the cries for help, right? So I went over and deadlifted the weight off his chest there.
Mm-hmm.
He just, we got the weight back onto the rack. He put his coat back on. And he walked out the door. I've never seen him since. So like that was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe he just hey, you're supposed to bench 225, so he decided, that's it. I'm going to go in and bench 225.
Maybe he was in the car beforehand for like hours, just like psyching himself up. Like,
I don't know. But he walked in,
yeah,
right. Put the plates on the bar, unzipped his coat, got down, and got stapled to the bench. Right, that was his workout experience right there.
Yeah.
But you do not do that. Like, you start small and you build and celebrate those victories along the way. It's so hard with today's influence, like, to cut through the noise and the hype. It really is. It's harder than ever, because when people go online now, I mean, they search for stuff. You're seeing, the best of the best. Like, very often you're seeing, and then sometimes you see the worst of the worst too. You see everything online. I almost feel grateful that I started my fitness journey before there was an internet. Like when information didn't come at you like this.
That's why you got to limit your time on social media there if you want to live a happy life.
Remember at the start of the podcast, we were talking about like you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. This just doesn't mean in person. This also means virtually. So like, who are you watching on social media? Like, obviously, if you're watching our podcast, then this is having an impact. This is like spending virtual time with us. But
Yeah.
if you're watching stupid TikTok videos and whatever else, like that's impacting you and your opinions, right?
Right.
It all impacts you. It's not just people you spend time with in person. It's who you're spending time with virtually. And unfortunately, these days, we're probably spending 10x time with people virtually than we are in person.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what that's going to lead to in the future, right? There's going to be all kinds of studies about all the negativity of social media. I mean, we're already seeing it now, but I'm sure it's just going to be becoming exponential.
Yeah. Take it for what it is. It's not reality.
It's a highlight reel. You're comparing your day-to-day reality, your day-to-day grind against someone's highlight reel. Because if they took the time to make a video and post it, it's not the same crap they're going through day in, day out. Like that's their peak. Like when you hit your muscle up and you posted it, you didn't post the 2 years of work that went into the muscle up. You posted the muscle up,
Right.
right? The highlight reel. But like, look at what went into that, right?
Yeah.
There was a lot of failed attempts, a lot of struggle, a lot of grit that went into that, successful muscle up.
Oh
Right?
God.
So,
Yeah. Right.
right?
But nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see the journey. Everybody wants to see the end result. So
Yeah.
it's unfortunately the world we live in nowadays when it comes to social media, but it's the game you got to play, unfortunately, if you want to get any kind of attention up there.
It is unfortunate that it is like that, but you got to realize like you're seeing the tip of the iceberg and there's so much underneath the surface that you're not seeing. When people are going through their challenges and they're struggling, they're like, "Hey, this isn't glamorous, this isn't sexy. I'm not seeing the results fast enough for me." You're not alone. Everybody goes through a similar challenge. Everyone goes through their ups and downs, and unfortunately, there's a lot more downs than there are ups. And so you just have to accept that from the beginning and realize that it is worth it if you can persevere through it. But you got to shovel a lot of crap before you get to the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, if you will, right?
Amen, my friend. Amen.
But with that being said, we're going to get ready to clue it up. But one thing that I'm planning on doing again, Jeff, I'm planning on hosting another Lose Your Gut challenge. And I want to share that here. This is planting the seed for it because I usually do a couple of these challenges a year. I did one back in the spring. It was really successful. And I want to do another one now in the fall of the year because this is the time when a lot of people start again. Like we hear about the New Year's resolution fitness boom, but I think there's probably just as big of a fitness boom after summer because a lot of people use the summer as this is vacation time. The kids are out of school. We're traveling, yada, yada. Things fall off the rails. But okay, the kids are back to school. Like Harvey started school today. This is day 1 of school, grade 3,
Nice.
right? So I'm looking forward. As soon as I finish up this podcast, now I'm going to go ask him how his first day of school was. But this is the start of a new beginning for a lot of people, right? It's like school is back, summer's over, all right, back to reality, and this is time when a lot of people want to start their fitness journey. So I think having a Lose Your Gut challenge would really help that. And the whole idea of the Lose Your Gut challenge is it's basically the first phase of our VIP coaching program, the Muscle After 40 program, where we're laying the foundations, laying the principles of how you can actually implement a sustainable health and fitness lifestyle with better eating habits, with better exercise habits, and doing so in a healthy and sustainable way. So it's kind of like you get to try it out before you come on board. So you can immerse yourself to what this is all about. And a lot of people make incredible progress just going through the challenge alone. But then, of course, there's a certain percentage of people who will go through the challenge and say, you know what, this is really good. I want to keep this going. I want more. And then if that's the case, then you're more than invited to come on board with our Muscle After 40 coaching program afterwards. And I have a special offer for people who would like to do that, which will all be discussed during the challenge. But it's basically an immersion for a full week to take this in, to go through like a VIP coaching experience for a full week to lay that foundation. So it's a Lose Your Gut challenge, but I'm not promising you're going to lose your gut during the challenge, but you're going to learn how to lose your guts, right? You're going to get the coaching, the tools, the strategies, and everything else that you'll need to implement. And then if you want some extra help afterwards, then you're more than welcome to come on board with our VIP coaching group. And Coach Jeff, he's the assistant coach in there. So it's myself, Jeff's helping out behind the scenes. And plus you also get to interact with a lot of our advanced coaching students who've gone through this and are in there helping out the new guys. Like done some videos now with Mike Brown, Iron Mike, who's
that's right,
getting ready. He's just 2 months out from his first bodybuilding competition now. So I mean, Mike is in there very eager to help out people, share his experiences with fitness and nutrition as a man over 60. Right. Paul Miller's another guy who was very helpful on the group. Paul just turned 70 recently. So, I mean, he's a muscle over 70.
Right?
Yep. And there's a lot of other guys who have gone through the transformation who are in there, I mean, doing remarkable things. I mean, it's good to be part of that community because, again, these are guys who are going to help to pull you up to a higher level.
That's right.
So if you want to get a taste of that, keep an eye out on my social media and on my email and stuff because I'll be sharing more about the Lose Your Gut Challenge.
Awesome. Can't wait.
With that being said, I guess we're going to get ready to clue it up. Anything else you want to add?
Tell Harvey I said I hope he had a great first day at school.
Actually, Harvey, he just poked his head in through the door. Harvey, where are you to, buddy? I'm talking to Jeff, the drummer.
Look, Harvey, what's up, buddy?
I'm good.
Hey, man. I saw a video of you drumming the other day, dude. You sound awesome.
Yeah.
You were playing the White Stripes. Remember I posted that video? You playing the White Stripes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And you also played a gig down at Bridie Malloy's.
Yeah.
Wow, was that your first gig?
It was his first time in a pub, but he's played live performances on stage. This, I think, was his 5th or 6th time on stage.
Wow.
He's only 7. Well, he's going to be 8 next week. Got a birthday coming up, but already had 6 live performances on stage at 7 years old.
That's awesome, man. Harvey, I didn't even start playing the drums until I was 11, man. So you already got 4 years on me.
Yeah. Well, it's just because I've been like drumming on like pots and pans and like other like toys like when I was like little, and then my mom and dad decided to get me a real one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they used almost all my piggy bank money.
Yeah, we used all his piggy bank money to buy a drum set. Yes, that's we did.
Yeah. I can relate, Harvey. I've used all my piggy bank money too on drums. That's great, man. Hey, you keep up the good work, okay? You sound better and better every time I see you. Keep practicing.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to get ready to clue up our podcast.
All right, guys. Great to see you guys as always.
Great chatting with you again, Jeff. And like I say, we will be in touch and have another podcast hopefully next week.
All right.
Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the podcast. And if you know someone who could benefit from today's episode, please feel free to share it with them. I mean, if you could help us to spread the word, that's going to help to get this message out there and allow us to create more content like this and reach more people and just create that positive impact all around. And if you would like some help with your own fitness goals, maybe it's building muscle, losing fat, improving your health, getting in your best shape. If you would like some help with that, then feel free to reach out to me. I have my contact information down in the show notes below, and you can book in for a free one-on-one strategy session coaching call with me, and we can discuss a realistic action plan that's right for you. And if I feel that you're a good fit, I may invite you to come on board and join our VIP coaching program. And if it's not a good fit and I feel that I'm not the right person to help you, then I'm not going to give you hype or BS, but I will point you in the right direction to somebody who can help you. I mean, I've got a large network of people in the fitness industry. So if I don't feel that you're a good fit for our coaching program or that I can help you, I'll be able to point you in the right direction to somebody who can. So either way, at the end of your free strategy session coaching call, you'll walk away with better insights on what you need to do next in order to reach your health and fitness goals. So that clues it up for today's episode. And we'll be back again next Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time with another episode of the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Podcast. Take care. Over and out.